Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Aha Moments with the Koi. I am Gwen Heiser. I own Lavender Koi Yoga in Berlin, New Jersey. So we're continuing with our series of the Yamas. We are up to our third Yama, which is Asteya. So let's dive in and see what Asteya is all about. So Asteya is Sanskrit for non-stealing. And like our other yamas that we had talked about previously, nonviolence, truthfulness, these yamas hold such a deeper meaning because there's so many subtle ways that we go against these ethical guidelines. So I feel like these yamas and why I actually love them so much and work with them so much is because it is a way of leveling up to go a little bit deeper into the meanings of these kind of words that we can hold simply in regard or go to those deeper levels so that we can live this authentic, genuine life, being that person that we want to be in our life. So again, Asteya asks us to live our life with integrity, have enough ability within ourselves and strength within ourselves to be that genuine person. So none of this stuff is an easy task. It's a lot easier to be a jerk, right, than to show somebody kindness and compassion. It's very easy to just always focus in on yourself and not worry about anybody else. But these ethical guidelines really ask so much of us. But the return is a life worth living, right? At the end, and we have that big day where we say goodbye to this human condition. We want to say that, yes, we walked this earth and we made a profound impact on it for ourselves and for others and for the earth and all living life. And that's what Asteya is asking of us, because we steal from ourselves, from others, from earth, from all living things, sometimes on a daily basis, and we don't even realize that we're doing it. So we're going to go through and kind of break down these ways that, we sometimes unintentionally, steal. So again, we are asked to have respect for ourselves, for all forms of life, and especially for this great planet that we inhabit. So some of the ways that we steal from others, right? Biggest one is comparing ourselves to others, and social media doesn't help, right? We see an awesome picture on someone's Instagram and we're either jealous or, a certain feeling bubbles up within us. And that is robbing ourselves. Because when we find ourselves jealous or comparing ourselves to others, we find ourselves lacking in some area of our life, whether confidence or maybe material objects, anything that is going to cause us to feel lacking in our life is robbing ourselves of our life. So when we compare ourselves to others, we can either find ourselves lacking, or we can either become arrogant around it, saying like, oh, I'm better than that, right? So either side of that, we are stealing from our life, because we should be focusing on ourselves and being grateful for the things that we have in life and our capabilities in our life. So we should never try to compare ourselves to others, even though every single human being does it. It is within the knowledge of knowing that we are doing it. And when we see ourselves doing it, acknowledging it, and maybe asking ourselves the question, why am I doing this? Like, where do I feel like I am lacking in my life, right? So, another thing that we do in comparing ourselves to others is, maybe there's something within our life where we feel unfulfilled, right? So that's another great way to kind of ask ourselves, where am I feeling unfulfilled or not feeling content in my life, right? So these are great realizations for us. So when we have these opportunities where we notice that we're comparing ourselves to others, use it as a way to turn inward and get to know yourself, get into your insights and your inner workings, so that you can kind of set yourself free from that or fill that lack that you are feeling in your life. So comparing yourself to others is a great catalyst for you to turn inward and ask yourself some really great questions, right? Why? Why am I doing this? So let's take more of a look at this. So when we compare ourselves to others, there's an action behind it, right? So what are we actually doing when we compare ourselves to others? Are we trying to control that person? Are we trying to manipulate that person? Are we doing it out of a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Or are we just trying to boost our ego, right? So notice when we are starting to compare ourselves to others. I know it's very difficult to kind of step outside of that feeling when we're in it. But again, noticing it, bringing yourself into awareness around it is the first step. And then we'll get rid of a lot of suffering. We won't have to boost our ego in a very materialistic way. And we'll be able to fill the holes within us that we feel are lacking in some aspect of our life. So in a way, there's a silver lining, right, behind comparing ourselves to others, because then we can get into, what this is all about, what's going on with ourselves. So another way we steal from others is we try to one-up them or try to trump that person. And I'm sure we all have done this. I definitely am guilty of it as well. We do this around, say someone is very excited about going on this vacation, right? Or this trip that they are really looking forward to. And say this trip is to Antarctica, right? And so this person tells you, I'm booked this trip to Antarctica. I'm so excited. And you went like a couple years ago, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, I was just there a couple years ago. Where are you staying? What trip are you going on? And they tell you, and you're thinking in your head, oh, well, my trip was way better. And so you express that to them and say, oh, well, I didn't go on that one because that one was kind of like in the middle of the road. I went on like the really luxurious one. And, that one was just looked so much more amazing than the trip that you're going on. So you deflate them. And that isn't a act of kindness. You're stealing their thunder, right? And that's just not a good thing, right? So another one, and this is actually, I've heard this and seen this so many times. Someone is diagnosed with a disease, right? And another person has that same disease, and the person that was just diagnosed is talking about like what they had to go through, and then the other person that has had the disease for a while says mine's way worse than yours. Again, you're not really listening to that person. You're trying to kind of go above that person and trump them and deflate them, maybe again boosting your own ego because you're feeling lacking in some area of your life. So those are the ways that we steal from others. We steal their thunder, right? And again, with that lacking part of it, you're stealing from others, but you're also, you're not allowing that person to be uniquely them. And wouldn't you want someone to allow you to be uniquely you? So those are ways that we steal from others. So how else do we steal from others? And again, I know we all do this because, we witness it. And, I myself am completely guilty of it as well. So how we steal from others is we don't pay attention to them. Right. So have you ever been someone's trying to tell you something and you're just too busy and you're not paying attention to them, and that person knows you're not paying attention to them? And that's a way from stealing away from the importance of their life. What they want to tell you, what they want to express to you, and then. Another way we don't listen is we actually are standing there and they're telling us something and we are thinking about the next thing we're going to say to them. So we're really not even listening to them. So those are other ways that we steal from others, So showing up, paying attention to someone who is expressing maybe their heartfeltness to you is just another way that you can show up in life instead of take from it. So instead of stealing from others, we should be lifting each other up, right? And we should be supporting each other, being a good person, showing other people kindness, and maybe put our insecurities aside. And that's why this jewel continues to ask us to show up to our life with integrity and with this great understanding, right? Because if we look at the huge picture of it, we can never do any of this on our own, right? We would not exist on our own. We'd be like the sole person, and then we would die, and then that would be it, right? So we need each other, right? We need each other for this thing, right? To keep going, right? So how else do we steal? We steal, unfortunately, from one of the most precious gifts that we have been given as a species, and that is we steal from the earth. I truly believe that as a species, we forget so much of the time that we are this spirit. We are these spiritual beings having a human experience. And we get so caught up in the game, right? That we forget. We forget that we are these spiritual beings having this human experience, and that is why we refer to ourselves a lot of the times through yoga philosophy as the human experience. I like to call we got the human package on the day we were born. So that is why this jewel is, all these jewels are so important to us. And we're lucky that we have those because they're incredible tools to help us live authentically. So, getting back on our path, stealing from the earth, right? So, for example, right, we would not go to our friend's house for dinner and complain about the food, and then leave all of our mess on the table, and then get up and steal the silverware and then leave, right? But we as human beings do that to the earth almost every day, right? Just because we inhabit the earth doesn't mean that we own the earth, right? We are just visitors here. Just as we are visitors in our bodies, we're visitors in our minds, we are visitors on this earth. So when we are visitors, we're guests, how should we treat the earth? We should treat it a whole lot better than how we have been treating it. I am one that always is out in nature, walking, just exploring, and it hurts me so much when I just see trash laying around in nature, because nature doesn't ask for any of it. Nature is like the ultimate of non-stealing. It is constantly giving. It's giving to us as a species all the time. And we don't treat it the way it treats us. So, every day should be a day that we are praising the earth, giving the earth gratitude, and taking care of the earth, just as the earth takes care of us. So as a society, a lot of us feel that that we own the earth, right? And because of that silly notion, we feel like we could do whatever we want to it. So we don't own the earth, and we should walk on this earth with that knowledge that that it is not ours. And actually, we don't own anything. We are gifted this life, and in this life, we should let go of the mindset that we own anything. Because when we say we own something, right? So, say, we have a family, we have a spouse, we have children, we have our loved ones. And when we have this mindset that we own them, they're ours, we treat them differently. We treat them like objects. And when we do that, we are robbing our loved ones of their authentic selves. And we are also robbing ourselves of our authentic self because we are claiming, right? So we don't own anything, right? We don't own our pets. They're gifts to us. The earth is a gift to us. We don't own the grass that, say, our house sits on, right? We don't own the trees that are on our property, right? We don't own our property, right? Maybe in society's eyes, we bought that through material objects, right? But we don't own the life that is on that property, right? So when we have this idea that we own life, we look at it as an object, right? And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be looked as an object. I want to be looked at as a spark of life, right? So when we do that, we are stealing from the vitality of life, and thus, we just view everything as putting it almost at that same level as a material object. And my family and my loved ones are not material objects. They are these glorious forms of life that have tremendous gratitude around. And I would never want to take anything from them to serve myself, right? So that's why, again, this jewel is really asking us to have that integrity and this deep understanding. Because again, it is not the way that it's not the path, the right path that we want to live in our life. So I know once I started really working with Asteya and understanding it, I had already had my first son. And he's going to be 16 in a month. And I remember he would always ask me to do stuff. And because I didn't feel like doing it, I would always tell him no, 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 no. So once I started working with this jewel especially, I realized that I was looking at him as if I owned him, right? And I would tell him what he could do and what he couldn't do. And once I realized that I was doing that, everything shifted, right? My whole mindset changed. And I realized that, no, I don't own my family members or my loved ones. I am a guide for my children, right? I was gifted them, and they are the most precious gifts, right? And I have now become a guide for them. I am their biggest cheerleader. I am their support system. And by doing that, I am allowing them to let discover their uniqueness, right? Their very own beautiful personality is being brought out. They're discovering themselves. And I am this guide helping them discover who they are so that they can show up for themselves and not steal away from their life. So this is huge, right? This is a huge multi-layered Yama, which they all are, right? So Asteya, changing our mindset to help others create their best lives by being their support system, right? Just as, in turn, they will become a support system for you when you need it, right? So, not stealing away from any form of life is the mindset that we should start entering into. So, non-stealing implies more than not taking what isn't ours. It is an inherent understanding that from the moment we were born, we are in debt to this gift called life. And when we have this mindset, we have gratitude, right? Rather than feeling owed. And when we have gratitude in our life, science has even shown brain scans for someone who has gratitude in life rather than feeling that they're owed something. And when someone has more gratitude in life, more happy things in the mind start to light up, right? So when we move through our life having gratitude rather than feeling owed, those are two very distinctive ways of living in our life, right? It's a much better feeling to have gratitude rather than feeling like you're owed something all the time, right? So, and if we continue to live that way, if we continue to steal from the earth, if we continue to steal from ourselves, from others, from other forms of life, then we're going to steal from our future. And we don't want to do that, right? We want to live presently in an ethical way so that our presence will dictate our future. So we've all heard that our future is bright, right? So let's work to make our future bright. Right? So how do we steal from ourselves? Right? Again, subtle ways we steal from ourselves. Subtle ways and actually big ways that we can steal from ourselves. So we steal from ourselves whenever we move into a realm of, again, jealousy, comparing ourselves to others. Whenever we act in a way that is taking away from our evolutionary process and taking away from us living and being happy and authentic in our life, right? So anything that moves us out of that right path is stealing from ourselves. So, one of the biggest ways, because I could probably, list and list and list, ways that we steal from ourselves. But I truly believe that one of the biggest ways that we steal from ourselves as a human being is being in our head too much, right? So if we are constantly thinking and believing that we are our thoughts, now, thoughts definitely create our existence, right? So that's why it's so important for us to realize our thoughts, to know what we think about all the time. So if we are a type of person that is completely consumed by our thoughts all the time, we want to take a look at what our thoughts are, right? So to be able to create a new thought, a thought that has not come from an outside source or from a past experience, is actually a pretty difficult thing to do. Maybe sometime ask yourself, is this my thought? Or did I get this idea from somewhere else, right? So being able to actually create a new thought takes a lot of effort. So most of the time when we're in our day-to-day activity and we're in our head and thoughts are just going around, what are those thoughts? Thoughts are conjured up from past experiences. Our mind cannot create a thought just randomly when we're not putting in effort of a new experience, right? So it's just like a conglomerate of like past experiences that are on repeat in our head, right? So if we are always in our head, if we are believing that we are those thoughts, we are stealing from our life, right? Because we are not allowing ourselves to have an opportunity to have a new experience, to have new thoughts. So just for example, say we are going on a vacation, right? Love using vacation because it takes us out of our normal day-to-day, right? So we can really be exposed. I've learned a lot about myself on many trips that I have gone on, and it's been, such a gift, right? To have that insight into the self. So say we're going on a vacation, right? and we're excited about this vacation, and say the destination is Florida, okay? And say we're going to Key West, right? And so we love Key West, right? We went to Key West a couple years ago, and then we started thinking about that vacation, right? And so we started thinking about it, and we're like, you know what? Actually, it wasn't like the best time. But I'm excited. I'm gonna go on this vacation. So we get to Key West, and then we start getting in our head. We started thinking about, oh, remember when we did that? Oh, that was awful. That was an awful experience. No, we're not going to try that again. No, we're not going to do that. And then we start thinking about, like, oh no, I only have like a couple days here, and I don't want to go. I don't want to go back to work. And then we start thinking about the future, right? A future, leaving the vacation, and we're not present in our vacation, right? And then we started thinking about, oh my gosh, remember when we went to that restaurant, and then that restaurant gave me food poisoning? We're not going back there. You know what? Actually, this place sucks, right? I don't even know why we chose to come here. So what is happening, right? You are in the same vacation that you were, a couple years ago. So you are showing up to this brand new, awesome experience being your, say, 5-year-old self, right? And that 5-year-old self was miserable on your vacation, right? So this is a way we are robbing ourselves from a new, awesome experience, right? We could have completely flipped that mindset to be like, yeah, you know what? That restaurant gave me food poisoning. Let's go to this restaurant. Remember, we couldn't decide, which one we wanted to go to. Now's our opportunity to go to this one and try this one. And so, we can create new experiences by letting go of the past. But if we are so in our head, we're not even going to realize that we're so in our head because we believe that we are those things. And we are going to, guess what? If we don't check in with ourselves, let go of the past, maybe in another 5 years when you go on another vacation, you are going to bring all of that stuff from those past 2 vacations to your new vacation that you're going to have. So that's why it's so important to let go and get out of your head, right? So we have to check in with ourselves every once in a while so that we are not showing up every day in our life having all of that attachment of our past, right? So if we're constantly in our head and we're constantly thinking about past experiences, comparing ourselves to those past experiences, guess what? You are robbing yourself from life. Because say we're in our day-to-day life and we're thinking about whatever in our head, and we're going for a walk that day. We go for a walk and we're just in our head. We're in our head. We miss all the beautiful flowers that were just planted on our path on our walk. We miss looking at the beautiful sky. We miss breathing in the fresh air. And then we get back from our walk and we're still in our head. And say your pets are running around doing something silly, and you're so in your head doing something, you completely miss it, right? And then you're in your head, say your kids get home from school, right? And they had the best day at school. And you're in your head, you're doing something, and they're over here telling you about their awesome day at school, but you're so in your head, you're not even listening to them. right? And then you have to make dinner, and you're like, I don't really want to make dinner, and so you're in your head making dinner, being miserable because you don't want to make dinner, and you're missing all the beautiful colors of the fresh vegetables that you're cutting up. You're missing the smells that are starting to develop because you're starting to cook things, right? So there's a whole day that we missed all these beautiful things that are happening because we were so in our head. And we're stealing life from ourselves when we are too in our heads, right? Because, like I said, our thoughts are just conjured up from past experiences. And if we don't let go and open ourselves up to the awareness to have new experiences, put in the effort to have new thoughts, that's the way we live in our life, right? So that checking in, that letting go is the evolutionary process of the self. And that's why these yamas are so important to a life worth living, because they help us. They are tools for our toolbox in life. So Asteya asks us to be excited about our life, right? Don't steal from it. Find inspiration. Let your life be a source of excitement for you. So recently, probably about a couple months ago, I had this aha moment. I was sitting on my bed in my bedroom, and it just hit me. I had stopped doing things that excited me in my life. I know that the pandemic had a huge part in that. Me stopped doing things because I couldn't do anything. But now that things are starting to open up, I really stopped doing things that excited me. I used to do things on my own. Just because I wanted to do them. I used to do things just because they sounded exciting to me. They made me feel happy. I felt proud. I felt accomplished. I created new experiences for myself. And when I realized that I had stopped creating these newer experiences for myself, I realized, oh my gosh, I'm stealing from my life. I felt like I had just poured concrete on my feet, and I was just being stagnant in my life. And to me, that is an awful place to land. So I realized that I needed to start. I needed to start again, started to find that excitement and that inspiration again. So I decided that, and this aha moment happened in the evening. And so I decided that the next morning I was going to wake up super early, and I live in New Jersey. I'm about 35 minutes away from the ocean, the beach. And so I decided that I was going to pack some stuff up, and I was going to wake up super early, drive to the shore, and meditate on the beach while the sun was rising. And this was in March, so the ocean was cold. And so I decided that I was going to meditate while the sun was rising, and then walk into the ocean. And that excited me. And I was like, I'm going to do that. So I packed up all my stuff. My husband got home from being out somewhere, and I told him what I was going to do. And he smiled and said, okay. Okay, we'll see. And I was like, oh, what's that mean? And he's like, you're not going. And I thought in my head, well, now that you said that, I really am going. And so right before we were going to sleep, I started really thinking about what I was about to do in the morning. And I freaked myself out. I thought way too much about it. I got in my head. And I stole that experience from myself because I got scared. I got scared, and my reason for the fear was legitimate. It definitely was, because I had done a ice dip before in a tub, and my lungs seized up. And it took someone helping me to relax my body, to let my lungs relax, to be able to breathe again. So I just imagine myself being by myself in the middle of the ocean and my lungs seizing up and not being able to breathe. So I feel like that's a pretty legitimate fear, right? But at the same time, that made me very upset because I'm normally not afraid of anything. And for that to keep me from that experience, it started to make me upset. So my husband suggested, he said, why don't you try starting slow, right? Maybe just go to the beach and meditate. You don't have to go into the water. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I could do that. But anyway, I didn't go to the ocean yet, but what I did do is go to a creek near our home. So it's has a little bit of movement in the water, but it was safe, and I went with someone. So I went into the water with someone and had this incredible experience. It was beautiful. I loved it. It was newness. It was exciting. And because of that experience, I wanted to do it again, right? So it thrilled me. And when we have these acts that, set that fire of passion within us, go for it. That's life, right? You could feel life pumping through you when you do those exciting things, right? And extreme, right? Maybe that's extreme for some people, but little things, taking that pottery class that you've always wanted to take, right? Thrilling, inspiration, taking a walk and not thinking about anything, just enjoying what is around you. Inspiration. There's inspiration in nature at any moment, right? At night. Oh my gosh, at night, in the wintertime, going outside, it is like the most beautiful, quiet, peaceful place to land. And taking that all in, it's beautiful inspiration, right? To your life. And it makes you realize that I'm not separate from any of this. It is all a part of me, right? I am it, right? So draw inspiration out of life rather than taking from your life, right? So the last thing that that I wanted to talk about around Asteya is really, and it has to go with having inspiration in your life. So just for example, right? I wanted to go to the ocean. I freaked myself out. So it is within my capabilities, right? Staying in that frame, right? So I would not, say I could play the piano when I've never taken a lesson, right? And sit down and think that I could play, Beethoven or Bach or anything like that. That's absurd, right? But that's what we do a lot of the times when we set up goals for ourselves or set up something that we want to achieve in our life, but we don't have the skills to be able to achieve that thing. Many years ago, I decided that I wanted to start running, and I signed up for a 10-mile run. And so I knew I never ran before. And I had to train to be able to run those 10 miles, right? So I did set a goal for myself, but I knew that I had to be able to develop my skills to be able to achieve that goal, right? So make sure that we are not setting ourselves up for failure, right? When we set goals for ourselves, there is a huge difference in knowing what our capabilities are, or our competency is. So knowing what our competency is, and not setting ourselves up for failure, but to rather to encourage ourselves to be able to do that thing. Right? So just for example, people who win the lottery, right? And then you hear these people that win all this money, and in a couple years they're broke again, right? Because they didn't have the skills to be able to invest that money, to be able to set themselves up, to be able to keep that money, or maybe invest it, or to be able to grow it rather than just spend it. So they didn't have the skill set or the competency for that large amount of money, and to be able to benefit their life with that money instead of just spending it, right? So it's so important to know what your limits are, so that you don't set yourself up for failure. And when you set yourself up for failure, you self-sabotage yourself. And that's a way that you are stealing from your life. So, and there's so many ways that we manipulate ourselves and self-sabotage ourselves in order to, not put ourselves in that risky situation. So again, it is stealing from our life. So we don't want to steal from others, ourselves, the earth, all forms of life, right? We want to be respectful. We want to have integrity. And like I said, it is much easier to just be in life for yourself in a very selfish, egotistical way. Right? It's much easier. But it is so important for you to feel satisfied in your life. If you're okay with stealing from all those sources, then, that's your life. But, if you are a person that is genuine, authentic, these tools are here for us to be able to live and create this incredible life that we want to be in and we want to live in. So, if we are not prepared to control our deep desires, we can easily find ourselves stealing in all kinds of inappropriate and destructive ways in our life. We're stealing, when we steal, we unleash pain, sorrow, suffering on ourselves and to others. So building our competency opens up a world of joy and happiness. And it's an adventure, right? Life is an adventure. I really noticed that, working with these yamas, a huge part of the process is changing our mindsets. Like I said, changing my mindset around thinking that I owned my children rather than knowing that I don't own them, and what can I do to help them live their best life. So hopefully, I am being a guide for them to be able to be their authentic self. And again, you were born for a reason. You were born you. So when you steal from yourself, you are not being you. So why would you not, right? You are unique. You are you. Let the world know you. So again, this great life is an adventure. And when we change our mindset to realize that life isn't coming at us, life is offering itself to us, then we value life so much more. And that's why we're going to show up for ourselves more in our life and for others in our life. And the most important thing that all of these yamas bring to the table is showing you that you need to love yourself. And when you love yourself, the world knows it, and everyone around you knows it. And because you are living a life of inspiration, you yourself are going to inspire others to do the same, right? And what a gift, right? You are giving yourself the gift of life. And because of that, you are offering that as a gift to others around you. And then it spreads and spreads and spreads. And then hopefully, we get to a point in a lifetime, our lifetime, future lifetime, that we are all one, and we realize that we are all one. Like I said, we can't do this alone, right? Nothing in nature is solely on its own, and that works with the human existence as well. So, Asteya, non-stealing. So we are going to move into our fourth. There are only 5 yamas, so we're almost there. Again, if you have any questions around Asteya or any of the yamas or any of our talks that we offer on this platform, please reach out to us. You can reach us through our website, which is lavenderkoyoga.com. And thank you so much for listening. If you like our channel, please hit that like button and subscribe. And again, we are going to continue with this series of the yamas, and then we're going to get into the niyamas. So have a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you so much for listening, and sending you so much love. Bye.